Are programmers reading and reviewing code anymore? Yes and no. The engineers who actually use AI fluently aren't reading code line by line like they used to. They're running it through a gauntlet of AI reviewers, letting CI confirm the behavior, then shipping. But there's a more interesting question here. Is reading code becoming a lost art, or is it just shifting up a level? That's the topic on today's Tech Thaumaturge. For 30 years, the developer ritual was the same. Someone writes the code, someone else reads it, both argue about it in a pull request, and then it ships when someone gives it. The ritual is changing fast, and depending on who you listen to, this is either the most productive shift in the developer history, or it's the start of a quiet competence crisis. Both are happening at once. Let's talk about what the modern workflow actually looks like. So here's what shipping a feature looks like from an engineer working at the front of this wave. They generate the code with an AI agent. They eyeball the diff for anything obviously wrong, like a function in the wrong file, a deleted block they wanted to keep, or hallucinated APIs, all that kind of stuff. Then they run the code through a review skill. That's a custom checklist their AI assistant follows. Things like security patterns, dead code, performance smells, all that stuff. When they open a pull request, more AI reviewers chime in. CodeRabbit, Cursor's BugBot, Greptile, GitHub Copilot Review, Codex are just common examples. There are tons of other ones out there. Each one of them leaves comments. CI, continuing integration, runs, tests pass, the engineer might spin up another agent that exercises the feature and then to end-to-end and confirms that it all works. Then it ships. If you notice what's missing, no human really sat down and read every line like they used to. This is not fringe practice. If it feels like a power user workflow, the numbers say otherwise. GitHub's Copilot review feature has crossed 60 million reviews and now handles more than 1 in 5 reviews on a platform. CodeRabbit is installed on over 2 million repositories and has processed more than 13 million pull requests. Gartner estimated that by the end of 2025, 30% of organizations with more than 1,000 developers had at least one AI code review tool deployed. And the agents aren't just helping humans anymore. They're writing the code themselves. Cursor CEO said that early 2026 that 35% of pull requests Cursor merges internally are now authored by autonomous agents. At Cognition, the company behind Devin, the number is 25% of their own internal pull requests. It has a name now. The industry is calling it Agentic SDLC. SDLC just means the software development lifecycle. Agentic means the agents are the ones doing the work inside of it. The reading question splits the industry. The debate isn't about whether to use AI reviewers. The war is over. The debate is about how much human reading is still non-negotiable. Simone Williamson's position is a hard line. If an LLM wrote every line of your code, but you reviewed, tested, and understood it all, that's not vibe coding, that's using an LLM as a typing assistant. His rule is simple. Do not file pull requests with code you have not reviewed yourself. DHH sits on the other end. In October of 2025, he processed 100 pull requests in 90 minutes by pointing Claude at each one and letting it summarize. Work, he says, that would have taken days. He calls himself agent first on everything now. But even DHH adds a caveat. He keeps the AI in a separate window, because if he doesn't, I can literally feel the competence draining out of my fingers. Kent Beck cuts right to the bone. He says, looks right and right aren't the same thing. And there is real data behind the concern. A Meter study in 2025 measured experienced open source developers using AI. They predicted they would be 24% faster. They felt 20% faster. They were actually 19% slower because most of the review and all the rework. Adi Osmani has a name for this gap. He calls it the 70% problem. AI gets you about 70% of the way to a working feature. The remaining 30%, the edge cases, security gaps, the way it integrates with your specific system, has not gotten meaningfully easier. And that 30% is exactly the part that needs the most reading. Stack Overflow's 2025 developer survey put the number on the cost. 45% of developers said debugging AI-generated code takes more time than just writing the code themselves would have. The gauntlet isn't bulletproof, and the failures are starting to pile up in public. In July of 2025, Replit's AI agent deleted a live production database during a coding session with a user. More than 1,200 executive records and roughly the same number of company records were wiped. Replit's CEO had to issue a public apology. 2 months before that, researchers analyzed 1,645 apps built on Lovable, a popular AI app builder. 170 of them, more than 10%, shipped with misconfigured databases that exposed personal information to anyone who poked at it. Veracode tested over 100 large language models on 80 common coding tasks. In 45% of the cases, the model chose an insecure pattern. For Java specifically, the number was 72%. And in late 2025, CodeRabbit, one of the AI reviewers themselves, ran a study on 470 pull requests. AI co-authored pull requests had 1.7 times more major issues than human-written ones. The gauntlet does catch a lot, but it's not enough on its own. Reading hasn't died, it's just moved up in the stack. Here's what's actually happening. Reading code isn't gone, it's just been reprioritized. In the old model, you had to read every line, top to bottom, because every line was handwritten and every line could be wrong in any way. In the new model, the mechanical reading layer is delegated. Style, security patterns, common bugs, dead code, type errors. All of that is now caught before a human sees it. What is left for the human is the part AI genuinely is worse at. Does this change solve the right problem? Does it fit the architecture? Does it match the team's history? Is the test actually testing the behavior, or is it just hitting the line? That is still reading. It is the reading for judgment, not for typos. Now, if you want to ride this shift instead of being run over by it, first, build your own gauntlet. One AI reviewer is not enough. Stack at least 2 with different strengths. 2, risk tier your reading. A schema migration deserves a full read. A docs typo does not. 3, trust nothing fully. Every AI reviewer has a blind spot. The point of the stack of multiple is to cover each other. 4, keep one skill sharp above all others, spotting hallucinated code. Code that looks plausible but references things that do not exist. That's a failure mode AI reviewers miss most often. 5, don't trust a vendor's own benchmark. When the team at Augment Code reran one popular AI reviewer's published benchmark, its bug catch rate dropped from 82% to 45%. Every reviewer claims to be the best. Test them yourself on your own code. 6, never ship something you cannot defend in a meeting. The takeaway isn't that reading code is dead. It's that the act of reading has been redistributed. Agents handle the mechanical sweep, you now handle the judgment. The engineers who thrive in this era are not the ones who read the most. They're the ones who know which 30% of the diff is worth their attention and which 70% of the gauntlet has already handled. What about you? What are your thoughts? How much of a pull request do you actually read these days? And which AI reviewers do you trust enough to skip lines that you used to read?